of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Who calls roll? Judy. Secretary, call the roll.
Schlada.
Here.
Dunlap.
Here.
Casper.
Here.
Barry. Here. Menza.
Here. Superintendent's report, 3.1.
Yes, thank you. As you know, we have an ongoing bus driver shortage, which, despite our best efforts and that of the bus company, is getting worse, not better. One of the side effects of a bus driver shortage is bus transportation becoming less and less attractive for families as students have to arrive early or leave late because we've got bus drivers running double routes. One of the side effects of that is increased pickup and drop-off parent car traffic, which we've seen at all 5 of our campuses, but it's particularly troubling at Central Middle School as we come in and let out directly onto Oak Park Avenue. So you've got the morning normal rush hour traffic as well as a line of parent cars waiting to get into our parking lot. We worked with Tinley Park Police Department a couple weeks ago and made some improvements. It did not have an adequate effect. So I noticed in our audience we've got some of our partners from the village. Mayor Glotz and some of the gentlemen from the police department paid us a visit at Central this morning, and we have a new procedure that we've worked out that Central's working on communicating to families that'll begin right away, and we're hoping that it'll get more of the cars onto our property and off of Oak Park Avenue, which should help, and hopefully that will help remedy some of those concerns. It's a safety concern. It's also a convenience concern for families as it takes longer and longer for them to drop their students off at school. So we appreciate that partnership from the village. I want to give you an update on House Bill 2778. That's the COVID leave for anyone working in schools. As you know, it passed the Illinois General Assembly, both houses of the Illinois General Assembly, dramatically. This is a bill that the governor has been publicly against, so we're waiting to see whether or not the governor will either veto it or issue an amendatory veto or sign it. If he vetoes it, it'll be interesting in the regular session in January whether or not the General Assembly still has the overwhelming majority votes that would be necessary to override the governor's veto. They certainly had those votes the first time around. So I'm working with Keegan. We're penning a letter to the governor articulating our position, and we'll make sure that we copy that to our local General Assembly legislators as well in case it comes back to them. And of course, I'll make sure the board gets a copy of that. We had a conflict tonight. We wanted to welcome Central's girls softball team. You know, they're conference champions, they're conference tournament champions. There was a conflict for tonight, so we're working to have them come and be recognized by the board at the regular December meeting, hoping that will work out. Update about the joint annual conference. As you know, that begins Friday, November 19th. I will be helping preside over that conference as IASA is one of the partners in that. Angela's working on a social calendar for the board to consider for those of you that are going to attend, including a dinner where we can dine together. And she'll be sending you also a link to the conference schedule itself so you can start choosing your workshops and conference presentations that you'll want to visit. Veterans Day is November 11th. You know that District 146 schools are in session during Veterans Day. That's so that we can celebrate and learn about our veterans. So I have information about the school assemblies. I know a number of board members like to attend those events. Central will be at 8:30, Fierick at 9:15, Memorial at 9:15, Fulton at 10:15, and Cruz at 11 a.m. And I believe that we're going to be doing those the way we've always done them, minus the student audience who will be watching from their classrooms virtually, so we can keep the numbers somewhat down during the assemblies themselves. It's also my pleasure to announce that November 15th is School Board Member Day, and I go on and on about this every year at this time, just because I don't think that people really realize the amount of work and the amount of commitment that board members make to making our schools great. They do this without compensation, and the number of hours that they put in is really staggering, particularly in the COVID era, where being a board member has been harder than ever. This is an honorary day that offers us an opportunity to give thanks to board members and to thank board members for what they do for the children of District 146. So Darcy Nenza, Julie Berry, Rick Lloyd, Dean Casper, John Malloy, Jill Dunlap, and Patty Shalata, thank you for the work that you do for our children and the families of 146. We appreciate your hard work. The week of November 15th through the 19th is also American Education Week. It's no coincidence that Board Member Day falls during that time. It's a time for us to celebrate public education and honor our staff members too, who make a difference in our student lives, ensuring that every child receives a quality of education. As per tradition, the board will be providing each of the school buildings a lunch during that week to thank everybody for their hard work. We have a number of celebrations this month. Congratulations to Nora Hindi and her family on the birth of their daughter, Zaina. Nora is an ELL teacher at Cruz. Congratulations to Christine Hinker and her family on the birth of their daughter, Casey James. Christine's a first grade teacher at Cruz. And congratulations to Jean Fazy and her family on the birth of their son, Connor John. Jean is a social worker at FIRC. And we have a number of condolences this month as well. Jacqueline Crescent's mother passed away recently. Jacqueline is an ELL teacher at Memorial. Matt Malave's grandmother passed away. Matt is a custodian at Memorial. And Patty Evans' sister-in-law passed away. Patty's a substitute teacher for the district. So we share our deepest sympathies with these members of our family and their families. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. 4.1, reports from the union representative.
Hello, I'm Julie Harris, President of the Teacher Union and Educator at Central Middle School. I just wanted to provide the board an update to a new and exciting program that the educators of District 146 are participating in. That program is called SEED. SEED stands for Seeking Educational Equity and Diversity. The National SEED Project partners with communities, institutions, and schools to develop leaders who guide their peers in conversational communities to drive personal, institutional, and societal change towards social justice. The program is a group process of sharing our own stories and listening to the stories of others. SEED will offer educators the opportunity to revisit experiences around gender, ethnicity, race, and class that have influenced our perspectives on a personal and societal level. Educators will be learning how to be an ally to others who are both similar and different from ourselves. They will uncover and validate that there are injustices and inequalities in our midst, and through the process we'll be able to imagine a wider, more equitable world. We're very excited to be able to form SEED cohorts in this district that will meet once a month to continue ongoing and constructive conversations about frequent polarizing issues. In other news, last week the curriculum department offered after-hours professional development for staff. The purpose of these trainings was to improve instructional strategies and provide collaborative time for staff to learn with and from their colleagues. The professional learning topics this week focused on reading and writing workshop. After-hour professional learning opportunities will continue to be offered regularly throughout the school year. Fulton Student Council sponsored Spirit Week to recognize Red Ribbon Week and Unity Day, which occurred during the month of October. Students dressed up in hats and sports attire, wore school colors and comfy clothes. Students wore fall colors to promote making healthy choices, staying drug-free, and to promote anti-bullying. At the end of Spirit Week, students and staff dressed up in costumes to scare away the bullies and drugs. On Friday, October 29th, Cruz held a trunk or treat, co-planned by the PTO and the Community Connections Club. They were joined by special guests from the Orland Park Public Works Department and Orland Park Fire Department. Central Middle School students will be inducted to the National Junior Honor Society for the 2021-22 school year on Wednesday, November 17th. These are students that have maintained a GPA of 3.75 or higher and are exemplar students in the areas of leadership, scholarship, citizenship, character, and service. I think there was a couple more. Memorial also enjoyed their own successful trunk or treat on Monday the 1st, sponsored by the PTO. Students enjoyed refreshments, playing at the park with their friends, and trunk or treating until well after dark. And schools are preparing for Veterans Day this week. We're honoring our community veterans in a number of ways, including singing programs, wearing poppy flowers, letter writing to vets, and question and answer sessions. Finally, the end of the trimester is coming up fast, Thursday, November 18th. Teachers are wrapping up instruction for the first trimester, and it's really hard to believe that we are almost 1/3 of the way done through our school year. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Julie.
Additional union report? There's not. Okay. 5.1, public comment. As I say every week or every month, this is a time for the public to inform their board on their thoughts around any topic relating to education. Every citizen gets 3 minutes. We do ask that you sign in on the podium, and we'll begin with public comment.
Good evening. My name is Larry Rafferty. I'm the Deputy Chief with the Tinley Park Police Department. Obviously, so I wear this really nice uniform today. Thank you for having us here tonight. I just want to let you know that we have been working diligently. We came up with a couple different plans for the traffic. We were there today with Jeff, Mayor Watts, myself, and Commander Willis were there. And we talked to, I believe it's Kevin, for a short time. We came up with a couple different ones. What I didn't realize is our traffic unit had already come up with a plan. They have it, so we're going to introduce it to you guys very shortly. And it's a little bit different than we had. Either plan, I think we're okay. Hopefully we can leave some of the traffic problems over the central. So it's actually townwide. It's happening at the other schools and the other side of our school. So you guys are not exclusive to it. So we'll work with you. We'll get it done. We'll take care of it. So that's all I have. Any questions for us? No?
Thank you very much.
Please.
Could you sign in for us?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Deputy Chief, appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Additional public comment.
My name is Kim Staraki. From the beginning of this pandemic, this board has blindly followed the guidance and mandates that are not laws. But you chose to do nothing just so you can get your COVID funding to enact testing that gives false positives and masks that don't work. Not to mention it's unconstitutional. There's no room for dictators or politics in schools, period. Almost every state is open except for blue states. That should tell you something. This is all about politics and it's disgusting. Not to mention the discrimination between vaccinated and unvaccinated, especially in schools. My oldest was in close contact with someone who had COVID and had to test to stay for almost 2 weeks, even though he had no symptoms. But according to District 146 nurse, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to test, but you can still spread COVID even if you are vaccinated. So the school is okay with vaccinated children spreading COVID throughout the school, and the nurse said yes. Are you kidding me right now? So a child with no symptoms who is unvaccinated has to test to stay, but a vaccinated child can stay in school, no testing, and spread COVID. How are any of you board members okay with this? How does any of this make sense? It doesn't, and the fact that you're still going along with all of this nonsense just shows that you don't care about the kids. Because if you did, then the test to stay should be for everyone, regardless of vaccination status. Previous board meetings in the beginning of the year, the masks were going to be optional in the schools, but fear of being put on probation or possibly losing recognition to an illegal mandate led the board to mask our children. As of November 5th, the latest update on ISB website, all schools that are brave enough not to mask our children are fully recognized and off probation. Stop saying your hands are tied and fight for what's right. I've spoken with many families and teachers in 146 and surrounding districts that feel the same way but don't say anything or speak up because they're afraid of losing their jobs or what others might think. Well, in case you haven't noticed, I don't care what others think. I'm here to advocate for my kids and be the voice for so many others. It is enough. Unmask our children. I'm done with this bullshit.
Additional public comment?
Hi, can you hear me?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Claremont Wilson. I just wanted to follow up on an issue I brought to your attention at the last meeting regarding the dystopian unit. And one of the resolutions was that the feed was removed from the reading curriculum. And that's because it had 61 F-bombs and an explicit sex scene. However, about a third of the class was left reading Age of Miracles. So besides some F-bombs in that, not as many, but some, of greater concern to me was that in chapter 5, the narrator mentions a girl isn't born knowing how to give a hand job, which implies it's normal for a 13-year-old girl to be expected to learn and perform sex acts with boys her age. And in that same chapter, that narrator describes being assaulted. Up here, lifts her shirt to show her naked chest to all of her peers. That boy is not punished. Her peers do not help her. So, I appreciate the effort that was made to shield my student from adult content, but I was not satisfied that other students were left reading this material with missing context and missing definitions. So by missing context, what I mean is, if you do not stand up in that classroom and say, this is not normal, you should never be assaulted, and you should never be bullied like this. And it is not normal for someone to expect these things of you. If you don't say that, you are normalizing it, which creates a hostile environment for girls. It is not okay. Next, you are missing definitions. So if you are not comfortable putting hand job on the vocab list, that makes you uncomfortable, that teacher has no business putting that in front of students without a vocabulary list, because it abandons them to go look for answers. And where are they going to look? They're going to go look on the internet. And last year we had this issue where a teacher was telling students to Google penis and vagina terms in health class. We know what happens when
30 seconds.
Google. It's predictable, it's preventable. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shane Wilson. I'm going to address a different issue from my wife. My son's a student at Central, and I feel compelled to respond to Ms. Siraki's comments because, as you wouldn't be too surprised in our polarized world, I feel very much the opposite that she does. I think these are quite legal mandates. I'm actually really grateful that you've followed them as closely as you have. As you know, my son's school has an official outbreak, or at least did within the past 2 weeks, an official outbreak of COVID. And I think that the numbers are as small as they are because of masks. I think that the numbers are as small as they are because of the distancing measures that you have in place. And I honestly think they should be stronger. Actually, I think Ms. Siraki makes an excellent point, that the test-to-stay rules do seem very arbitrary. That because vaccinated students can pass along the disease, maybe they're not as affected, but they can pass the virus to others, a test-to-stay approach is actually quite valid. We've been very nervous because my son was the close contact of someone who was reported as a close contact. Your reporting system will not get to us. There will be no call to us saying you should be alerted. It's only casual conversation that allows us to know that fact. Nothing in Dr. Stanwick's report mentioned the fact that the vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, is now available to all of our students in our elementary schools and our 6th and some 7th graders. That seems significant to me. Because if we actually do want to get past this, if we want to decrease the number of potential infections, if we want to actually get masks off, and nothing would make me happier than to get masks off, vaccinations seem to be the way through this. We received a mailing from Dr. Stanwick saying that there's going to be a vaccination clinic. I think it's at Central. I think it's sponsored by Jewel. We got that mentioned. You have power as the board to promote vaccinations. You have power as the board to encourage the kind of things that would get us past this pandemic. I don't think one clinic will do it. I don't think passively waiting for something to happen will do it. I don't think hoping that the governor will change his rules will do it. I think activity is the responsibility, and I think the responsibility is in your hands, and I would like to see you take advantage of that responsibility. Thank you.
Additional comment? Okay. Hearing none. Moving on to action items. 6.1, can I have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I move we approve item 6.1, approval of minutes, 6.2, approval of closed session minutes, 6.3, approval of destruction of closed session tapes, 6.4, approval of financial items, and 6.5, approval of personnel items as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Call the roll.
Shalata?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Barry, yes. Nenza?
Yes. 6.6, approval of appointment for elementary assistant principal Kimberly Stacy.
Yes, it's my pleasure to make this recommendation to the board. I'm very pleased that you got a chance to meet Ms. Stacy at the committee of the whole meeting, and she's already begun the work and is doing a good job, and the elementary principals are very appreciative of your willingness to fill this position and for the additional help.
Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the appointment and contract for Kimberly Stacy as Assistant Elementary Principal for the 2021-2022 school year.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Shalata?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Barry, yes. Nenza?
Yes. Approval of donation to Farrick Education Center.
Yes, our very generous Farrick PTO has been quite busy. They have their sights on the little free library, which is beyond repair. They want to replace that, as well as a generous gift to the Farrick Music Department. And the sum total of these two gifts exceed the board limit for, so it requires board action in order for those gifts to be, their receipt to be approved.
Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve and accept a donation from the Farrick PTO to the Farrick Education Center for the replacement of the Little Library and for the purchase of additional music equipment as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Shalata?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Barry, yes. Nenza?
Yes. 6.8, approval of donation to Fulton School.
Yes, it is raining in District 146 this month. 7-Eleven opened a new store, as you know, on Harlem Avenue at 171st Street. It's customary for them to choose a local school to receive a $711 donation when they open a new building.
I see what they did there.
Brilliant marketing, and Fulton was selected to be that recipient. So we really appreciate their generosity, and again, we need the board's approval to accept that gift.
Do I have a motion?
I move to accept the donation from 7-Eleven to Fulton School as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Shalata?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Barry, yes. Nenza?
Yes. 6.9, approval of the resolution declaring the intention to issue not to exceed 2.5 million working cash fund bonds for the purpose of increasing the district's working cash fund and directing that notice of such intention be published in the matter provided by law.
Yeah, the recommendations that I make bring in hundreds of dollars. The recommendations that Jay Money makes bring in millions of dollars. Jay Money, you want to lay this on him?
So we've been talking about this for a few years. We have an opportunity, a window of opportunity to issue some bonds to help pay for the renovations at Fierick and Cruz. So what you have before you tonight is a resolution of intent, and it's the first step in a multi-step procedure to actually issue the bonds. So this starts a 30-day clock. We have to advertise, we have to call a public hearing, which we'll do at the next board meeting. The 2.5 million amount is the not to exceed amount. It depends on what interest rates are at the time we go to sell the bonds. It's going to be more like 2.3 million, but just to be safe. So this is the first step in the process of issuing some bonds,
We've done this many times before.
many times, and this is a small one.
Excellent. Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution declaring the intention to issue not to exceed $2.5 million working cash fund bonds for the purpose of increasing the district's working cash fund and directing that notice of such intention be published in the manner provided by the law as presented.
Well done. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Schlada?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Barry, yes. Nenza?
Yes. 6.10, approval of CMS HVAC project.
Matt, how much is your project bringing in? Sorry.
As Jeff discussed with the board last week at the Committee of the Whole, Train HVAC has provided a proposal to the district to replace 6 rooftop units at Central along with the chiller. All of this equipment was original to the building being built, so it's over 20 years old and several years older than expected lifetime of this sort of equipment. The cost of the project is $883,500. The project is scheduled to commence the day after school on June 8th and be wrapped up by July 31st. Tonight, we're asking for the board to approve us, the district, to enter into this agreement with Train.
Any questions from the board? Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the HVAC project at Central Middle School as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Schlada?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Barry, yes. Nenza?
Yes. Information item 7.1, preliminary tax levy.
Yes, this is just information this month. We'll be voting on it next month, but it is levy time of year. As you know, the tax levy is our primary source of funding. It accounts for about 80% of our total revenue, and we are limited to how much we can receive by tax caps and the consumer price index. For the year 2020, which is what we will be issuing this year for the 21 levy, the CPI was 1.4%, meaning the most we can get is 1.4% more than we got last year. So we have to levy a little more than that just to make sure we capture the full 1.4%. So in board docs, you have a description of all of that. The levy increase that we're asking for is 1.94%, but we will only get the 1.4. So again, it's just info this month, and we'll vote on it next month.
Thank you. 8.1, communications.
A card. I would like to thank District 146 and the board for the beautiful flowers, along with all the prayers and support regarding my mom's death. My family is very blessed and grateful to be a part of such a supportive community. Once again, thank you, the Cholada family.
Any additions? Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.